So Frederik, welcome. First of all, thanks for being such a supporter of Tech for Climate Action. I wanted to ask you, Brussels Climate Week, which was the video you couldn't quite see around the corner, October next year. Why are you interested in running a 5-day event about climate? Why is the timing right now or next October?
Firstly, thanks for having me, and luckily I saw it before, so I know what was showing. But I think the city of Brussels is an ideal location for hosting the Brussels Climate Week because we live in changing times, in uncertain times. I think that for this moment right now, it's an ideal situation where Europe should stand up and shows which way we want to continue on and why we should become climate neutral. And Brussels is therefore a very symbolic place to do so, also because Brussels has a lot of opportunities that I'll explain and hopefully show you next year. But most of all, I think that for now, the reason is that Brussels has this symbolic function in this ever-changing world where Europe is taking its right leader role in becoming once again a climate leader on a global stage. Together with regions, cities, and also nations and member states, it's an affirmation, or I would say underlining a commitment towards a climate neutral continent in 2050.
I think for us, Brussels is the gateway to Europe, which I think for a lot of people here, it's the gateway to Europe. So it's a really interesting place to be. And I was privileged to go to the Northern Quarter, have a walk around and see the regeneration that's going on. It was actually quite incredible. I mean, there were some really beautiful buildings that are being brought back to life. There was also planning around clean transport. I could see lots of energy infrastructure going in. I could also see that you're on a journey. So probably like a lot of cities, there's regeneration that needs to happen. So just tell us a little bit about, and for those of you that don't know, I mean, I certainly didn't before I met you, an alderman is kind of like the deputy mayor. So it's a big job. You're in office for 6 years, so you've got another nearly 5 years to go. So just tell us a little bit about your priorities, because you were telling me yesterday.
Well, first of all, maybe for the audience and also most of the people that are living in Brussels for the European institutions, for me, Brussels is an actual city. It has an important role to play where regulatory frameworks are laid out by the European Commission and European institutions. But it's a city with actual people who try to make a living here, who want to build a future here in the city. And that's something that I want to show next year in October by doing this Brussels Climate Week with you guys in the Northern Quarter, because it's really one of those examples where you have a lot of aspects of preparing the future is coming together. Not only the consequences of policy frameworks that were related, that were put together here in this European institution, but also because of the local policymakers that were trying to implement or that needs to implement those decisions into the streets of our city. And that's something that you're going to see in the Northern Quarter, because we could say that it long has been a bit neglected or maybe a lesser served area with a lot of socio-economical problems that we're trying to solve. But now innovation, I would say pilot projects, like for example, a district heating, circular construction, PABs, which is the blocks, not the districts. It all comes together in that region, and it's a lot. I mean, it's as you say, it's a neighborhood in progress. So you're gonna see some very different angles and maybe big contrasts, from fancy hotels to a bit like rundown social housing maybe as well, but that makes it interesting to explain and to show where we are going as a city.
Fantastic. And I know that there are 5 days planned at the moment. So if anybody wants to get involved in Brussels Climate Week, you'll find it on LinkedIn. I seem to be plugging LinkedIn a lot. Maybe in 2 years' time it will be OpenAI or something else that's taken over. But there is a Brussels Climate Week page on LinkedIn, brusselsclimateweek.com, which I think is on the screens at the moment. We're definitely looking for people to get involved if you have ideas. But going back to the 5 days, there are different themes, aren't there? So very much if you've been to any of the other climate weeks, like London Climate Week, DC Climate Week, which we're involved in, or particularly Tom is involved in as well, different themes for different days. What will this mean to the local community, though? What are you doing there?
Well, for starters, maybe I'm also alderman for citizen participation, so it's a very important role to play for me. And I would say that being this climate leader, or trying to be the city that shows the way and that put pilot projects into the urban fabric, it's extremely essential to explain and to get your residents and your Brusselaars, as we call them, on board, because without understanding and without the support, I would say, of the local population, we are not going to arrive where we want to go. It's like a bit like a train, essentially. And I heard it before, and I'll say it here again. I don't know who said it, but anyway, I liked it. It's the climate train is going, and it needs to stop at every station, and otherwise we are not going to get to our destination. And that's something that I'll definitely show in some explain some projects that I'll show in the streets of the Northern Quarter, where we are really working on a co-creation participation projects with the local people, with local what's the word again in English? Communities, local community actors, I would say. The civil society, that was the word I was looking for. With the civil society, local businesses, and we're explaining them how we should go to our goal. And that's something that I really want to show up.
That's fantastic. Well, I know you're going to be on the next panel, which is about local leadership, but for now, can we give Frederik a round of applause? Thank you very much for all your support.
Thank you so much.